It eventually will suck. It will be hard. That's kind of the whole point. Hey, I'm Josh, coach at Elemental Running, and today we're going to talk about how to be more mentally tough. Specifically, I'll frame this around ultra marathons because that's what people on TikTok asked me about, but I think you could apply these principles to really any race that you're training for. Before we get too into the weeds on the different tactics, I think there are really three main things going on here when we think about mental toughness, and I'm going to kind of refer to them as, being three parts of a pyramid with a foundation or base, and then a middle layer that built in that foundation, and then finally some icing on the cake that sits at the top of the pyramid, which is what I think actually is what people often think of when they think about mental toughness, and those are just the tactics for what you do when things get hard in a race. But I actually think that the bottom two layers of the pyramid are much more important and really make a person more mentally tough when we get into a race. So let's outline all three of them, and then we'll kind of build the pyramid from the bottom up. So I think starting on the bottom, there's having a big, strong, compelling reason why your goal for your race is important to you. And then on top of that, you're going to know and accept the fact that the whole point of doing the race or the hard thing is to get to that point where it will suck. And having it not suck is not really an option. So just accepting that it eventually is going to suck is I think a big part of being mentally tough. And then once you've accepted those two things, then we can talk about the tactics or the top of the pyramid, and we'll get into those last. But I just wanted to point out that I think when people think of mental toughness, they often are just thinking of those tactics, and they're leaving out what I think is a kind of big part of the equation that ultimately could make them more mentally tough. So let's jump in and just talk about the base, the foundation of the pyramid, and that is the why. The reason why you picked this race, this goal, this whatever, and why it's so important to you. So I think a couple of things here. You need to have a goal, but the goal is not the only thing. You need to also have a strong, compelling, preferably even sentimental, or something that you can attach a strong emotional feeling to, a reason why that goal is important to you. So maybe it's because you are an extremely competitive person, and you want to be doing well at this particular race to do well in competition, or maybe it represents some new physical fitness that you've reached, or maybe the event represents or supports a cause that's important to you. Whatever the reason may be, it's important that it's a strong reason, and then it's a compelling reason that evokes a good emotional response within you. It's not important just to have this why, but it's also important to remind yourself of it constantly, whether that's writing it down in a journal or saying it to yourself throughout the day. It's important that this reason why be really ingrained into your brain, such that when you get into your race and it becomes difficult, you reach that point where the race is starting to get hard, you can easily remind yourself why it is that you signed up for this event. If you can't in a race quickly recall why you even care about the race, then you're already setting yourself up for failure, and having your brain just say, well, this doesn't matter to me that much, so I'm not going to worry about pushing through. So have a compelling reason why, and write it down or say it to yourself frequently. That's kind of the foundation of all of this. The second piece, for building up our pyramid, is just knowing that it eventually will suck. It will be hard. That's kind of the whole point. Unless you've picked some event where you're not even trying to be competitive, and you're just going to have fun. there's really no way around the fact that the race will at some point be difficult, and you'll have to encounter that point where it's difficult, and the goal is to come through on the other side. I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they think, well, if I just train really hard, if my training is very hard, then the race will be easy. And that maybe happens on very rare occasions, but I don't think you should count on it. If you're running an ultra marathon, there are going to be frequent, probably multiple sections of the race that are very challenging and very difficult, and they might last for a long period of time. So just go into the race knowing that those are going to happen, and that's the whole point. The point of you being at the race is to get to that point and to try to come through on the other side. And so this is where a tactic like visualization, I think, can be really helpful. It's useful to visualize yourself getting to these stages of the race where it becomes very difficult, and not only to visualize just getting to that stage of the race, but visualize yourself mustering up the strength to be able to power through and getting to the other side. I can recall many high school and college cross country or track races where the night before the race I would fall asleep envisioning different scenarios of how the race might go in my head, and picturing what I would do in certain scenarios if certain things went wrong. So know that it will suck eventually, and that the whole point is for you to get to that point and push through. This quote that ultra runners like to say all the time, and I forget who it is that we should attribute the quote to, but the quote is that it never always keeps getting worse. Just as you should plan for the inevitability that will suck, you should also plan for the inevitability that the sucking will go away. Probably it will not last forever. If you're running a short race and you're going very fast, then yes, you'll probably get to a point where the race sucks, and it just sucks for the entirety of the race, and you have to push through to the very end. But in an ultra, there are ebbs and flows. You'll encounter bad patches, and then you'll come out of the other side and you'll feel a little bit better, and then there'll be another bad patch. But just know that those moments are going to arise, and that's where you get to use your training, and that's the test. That's where you get to prove to yourself that you can do the thing that you wanted to do for this big, compelling reason why you wanted to do it in the first place. Okay, so we've got a reason why, and we've got acceptance of the fact that the race will be difficult, and there's no way around that. Now, what do you do when you actually get to that point in the race? These are the tactics, and these are what everybody thinks of when they think of mental toughness. And I think in general there are kind of two different camps for these things. There's distracting yourself from the pain, and then there's acceptance, or accepting the pain. And I think each have their merits, and each work different for different people. So you should view all of these as tools that you can use to help you. We'll start with distraction. So there are easy things like music, or maybe if you're in an ultra and you're running with someone, you try to talk to them to distract yourself from the fact that it really sucks. But you're doing something to distract yourself from that pain. Music is good because you can put on your tunes, jam out, not too loud. If you're on a trail, you need to be able to hear other people. But this is a good way to sort of, just distract yourself from what's going on, especially if it's a song that gives you a strong emotional response, a song that you really like that you can zone out to. Another thing that people like are mantras, things like, I am strong, or I am fast, or, I can do this, or slow is smooth and smooth is fast. There are endless mantras. Pick your favorite, pick one that means a lot to you. You can use that as a way to distract yourself during a race. And I think it's important too, if you're going to use, a mantra or music, it's nice to practice with these things too in your training before the race. Especially, something like a mantra, if you can get used to the feeling of encountering pain, saying the mantra to distract yourself from the pain, and you're used to that cycle, you're going to be much better able to employ that as a tactic during your race. Okay, so that's the distraction side. Now there's the acceptance side, which is kind of what I prefer to use when I'm in an ultra or in a hard race. And this is just accepting that the pain is part of it and trying to live with it. And so there are ideas like the pain cave, which Courtney Dauwalter has made somewhat popular recently, where the pain cave is just this place you get to in a race where it really sucks and you're grinding and you're having to push really hard to get to the other side. But the whole point is to get to the pain cave, and so it seems for her that a lot of the point of an ultra race is to get to that pain cave and see how far she can go in the pain cave and make it to the other side, and that represents a big step in your growth and your fitness as a runner. So I like the idea of a pain cave. The other analogies that people like to use are a bear jumping on your back, or I like to use thinking about the pain as an old friend that's come to run with me. So when it gets tough in a race, I just think, oh well, this is my old friend, Mr. Pain or something, who is now going to run with me, and I just kind of accept, okay, this is part of it. I trained for this, and now I'm at the part of the race where it's going to hurt, and this is what I wanted to do, and here we go. Let's go together, me and my pain, moving forward to finish the race. Okay. So these are the tactics. Now we've built our pyramid. And so, what do you do when you get to the later stages of a race, or you get to a point in a race where you now need to be mentally tough? I mean, I think you kind of just build up the pyramid again. You're going to instantly remind yourself why it is that you decided this event or this goal was worth pursuing. And then you're also going to say, okay, yes, that's a good reason. I've picked my reason why this goal is important. I do want to continue because I still value that goal. And then you're going to say, okay, and yes, this sucks because I signed up for it and it was always going to suck. It was never not going to suck. And here I am. Now I have to figure out how to get through with this. And that's where you employ your tactics, your music, your mantras. You go into the pain cave and you see how long you can last. I think if you can do all of these things kind of in that order, this is the sort of the complete mental toughness package. And if you can stack these things up 1, 2, 3, then you're going to be in a position to be much more mentally tough and overcome a lot of challenges in your next race. Before I go though, I want to just mention one kind of fourth component that I don't think is necessarily a part of this pyramid, because it can exist without the pyramid, or the pyramid can exist without this other piece, but that is your fitness and your training. It's going to be a lot more easy for you to be mentally tough if you have done a lot of good training and prepared your body for the race. That's not to say that you can't be mentally tough without being well prepared, but I think when you have the fitness and the mental toughness components together, that's where things are really going to click. Obviously you can power through, but that's not always the best idea to let mental toughness overcome, a lack of preparation that could, in a best case scenario, just make you have kind of a not fun day. And in a worst case scenario could, put you in a position where you injure yourself or get overheated or dehydrated, or you push past some point that you probably shouldn't have pushed past. But that's, I think the pyramid is the main thing, and then obviously you want to try to be fit and do good training if you can. That's my take on mental toughness. I'd be curious to know if anybody else in the comments has other tactics or what you think about these, or maybe how you might employ these in your training or for your next event. Let me know what you guys have going on. And let me know if there are any other topics that you'd like me to talk about. I get a lot of the ideas from TikTok, but if anyone on YouTube wants to comment and let me know some things they'd like to see, I'd love to hear it.